there's still going to be a time where you think you're going home. I've won an ASA. I won 4 senior known pro ASA events. All 4, there was a moment in time in the shoot that I thought I was going home. Yeah, this is just not going well. I'm not hitting behind the pin. I'm frustrated. I would rather be anywhere else but here. And then all of a sudden something clicks.
You're listening to the Letdown Podcast.
It's like buck fever.
One shot at a time.
That's a big buck.
Who would you say your biggest your biggest rival is?
Oh man. There's there's a good 4 or 5 guys that I can mention. And this year has been indicative of that. So nobody has won twice. There's been 4 events, 4 different winners. It's and just because again, you can win one and then not even place the next 2. So there's quite a few guys out there that are, you've got to watch, but you've got to bring your A game every week. I mean, you've got to bring your A game every week because you're shooting against competitors who want the same thing that you do. And so there's nobody that you could take a look at and say, well, this guy, I have to watch out for this guy, or I could ignore this guy. And knowing in shooting, and knowing that the fact that, an equipment error could hinder you, so, your sight tape. I think at London, one of my cables stretched just a bit and messed up my sight tape, just shooting over everything. I was wondering, like, man, that was a really good shot. And it went over and was shooting over. And I went to the bags afterwards and I was hitting just a touch high because one of my cables, brought me out of time just a bit, which made me shoot just that little bit high. So, with the heat, everything that goes on, really, you've got to just focus on yourself and what you're doing. And you know what I'm saying? Just don't worry about what anybody else is doing and shoot your game, try to stay within your own head, or else, you start watching where everybody else is doing around you. You get into trouble really quick.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Randy, it's great to have you on. Thanks for joining us. But so before we start, even though Justin wants to get started quickly usually, but before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Bruno Morin. He did set this up for us. So Bruno, we really appreciate that. Just so you know, Randy, that Bruno learned all his umbrella holding from me. I'm quite the expert. I do a lot of that. So, what I'm thinking though is he's getting a lot better, and I don't think he's gonna be holding umbrellas for very much longer. So, if you do need an umbrella guy, I'm your man. So,
got you.
I'm excellent. I hold my wife's umbrella all the time. She's always in the shoot offs here in Canada. So, but anyways, on a more serious note, our guest tonight is currently leading the ASA Senior Known Pro Shooter of the Year race and is widely regarded as one of the most consistent shooters of professional 3D archery. Welcome to Let Down, Randy Morocco.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with this past weekend. I know you just finished second in Kentucky. You're still, like I've mentioned before, you're still leading on the leaderboard there, first place in the for Shooter of the Year 2026. So just walk us through the weekend. How did that go?
It was dark. The first day we came out, and very dark, hard to aim, hard to shoot a really strong, confident shot because you really didn't know where you were aiming. Unfortunately, I came down with some sort of stomach bug over the weekend, which led to body aches the second day. I was not doing really well. Into the shoot off, I had my sunglasses on because the sun hurt my eyes. I had a wet towel around my neck just to try to stay cool. Bruno, thank God for him. I mean, he let the umbrella down, and I hope I didn't snap at him, but I said, please put that thing back up because I can't handle any more of this heat. But those are the times where you have to dig down, and I don't feel good. Things aren't going especially well, and mentioned that, with the heat, one of my cables stretched just a little bit to throw my sight tape off just a bit. And so, on the course, you're, because you get one shot every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, there's, your brain works overtime trying to think, what am I doing wrong? Am I tipping my bow up? Am I not seeing am I aiming in the wrong place? I'm not seeing well. But when I went to the bags afterwards, I'm shooting just a little bit hot. I'm just at the top of the dot. And I fixed that and went into the shoot off, which, I shot 214s and 212s or 112 or something like that. But, going into it, I was pretty confident, but it's like, archery will do this to you. You can go in as confident as you want. And there's still going to be a time where you think you're going home. I don't think I've won an ASA. I won 4 senior known pro ASA events. All 4, there was a moment in time in the shoot that I thought I was going home. Yeah, this is just not going well. I'm not hitting behind the pin. I'm frustrated. I would rather be anywhere else but here. This stinks. I don't know why I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden something clicks and, you race to the leaderboard. And, that happened in Fort Minden. I won that tournament in the last 10 targets of qualification. I had a decent day the first day, not a decent day. I was like 4th, just a rough day. Came out on Saturday. First 10 targets, I shot 2 8s and 2 12s. And I was 12 up, just where I left off the first day with 10 targets left. Flew all the way down to Dallas, drove 3 hours, spent all this money to come down here to, go home empty-handed. And we made the turn, went to the 11th target, shot a 12, and thought, okay, thank God, at least I got another 12. And then I shot another one and another one, another one. By the time I got through those 10 targets, I was leading our class going into the shoot down.
Nice.
So, you have to have that mentality that no matter what you're facing, you might be sick, might not be feeling good. Maybe your equipment isn't working right, that it's not over until it's over. It's just, you just got to keep on grinding and keep on going at it because, at this point, I know I'm a good shooter. I know, I know I can shoot a bow, but it's just the space in between these years that sometimes gets in the way and says, well, you kind of suck today. And, and you've got to, you've really got to dig down deep and go, okay, now we can get this done.
Yeah. And that's a lot of things that, like a lot of the people who watch the ASA events, they don't get to see what's going on in the field, right? They get to see they only get to see the shoot down. They see, they see you walking through for lack of a better, the pergola and getting your name announced, and then you're coming into the shoot down. So like, and I know in Kentucky you came in sitting 3rd, or 18 points behind first and 2 behind. Like I didn't realize that you were ill. So that's
Yeah,
wow.
you didn't look ill. I
felt
watched the
it.
whole shootout. I did, but I watched that shootout and I'm like,
yeah. And then,
I felt it. I mean, you touch my skin. It was like, oh, that hurts.
that's brutal. So in that shoot down, your first arrow's an 8. And like a lot of people, I know for myself, if I'm in that, if I get a 5 or an 8 on my first arrow, it's like, oh, this is over. Like you're saying, I'm going home. But what's going through your mind though when you shoot that 8?
I've got 4 more targets. And, I broke a good shot. I felt, I actually looked at Bruno and I said, that's smoked. And he was, it's close. And, because again, on a 3D animal, I can't see the rings. I can't see the rings through my scope. I area shoot. And when that shot broke, with my naked eye, when I saw where the fletchings were at, I thought I'm all over it. And when they called an 8, I knew that I'd made a good shot. and Scott Parrott at the end of the day, he told me, he goes, I think the wind kind of caught you there.
Okay.
Which you can't help. So now it's just a matter of, okay, I've got to go and focus on the next target, which I think was a javelina. I think I shot a 10 on that javelina. And all right, well, I'm still 2 down, and I don't know what anybody else is doing right now. I could hear it going on, but I'm not really paying that much attention because I'm focusing on what I have to do next. And thank God for Bruno, because he has a real good mind for managing the game. And so we got to the next one, which was, I think, a 28-yard bedded buck, and he was like, "You got to go 14." Thankfully, there was a mark right there, and I still couldn't see the ring 28 yards, but I knew when my shot broke, I knew it's going to be there, and it was perfectly donutted. And then when I went to the Wolverine, when I shot that Wolverine, I had the exact opposite of the bear, where when I saw the arrow hit, I thought, I'm too far to the right. And Bruno goes, "No, you're right on the 12. I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay. I think I'll take that." And so, there again, the mental gymnastics that you go through, doing this sport of, you break a great shot and, turn around and they're like, a little bit high. Like,
Yeah.
no, I can't believe it. Or you break a terrible shot and, the pin moved and went like this, and they're like, "Oh man, you drilled it." I'll take it. What can you
It's
do?
definitely enough to drive someone crazy. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah. And unlike PJ, I won't make mention of the poor eyesight thing, but I will mention that this is like your 6th straight pressure point shoot down for ASA, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So
Yeah, it is.
you're really good. Awesome.
Yeah, it's just stemming from last year. Last year, I switched to a lift X33.
Okay.
Right for Metropolis, and set that. But I went to my buddy's shop and bought one. I was shooting a title, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye. And so I went to that lift X33, set it up, went to Metropolis. I think I took 3rd place in Metropolis. Took that same bow, and I took it to the NFAA Field National Championships in Harrisburg, PA, won that. I took that bow to the outdoor target nationals in Yankton, South Dakota, won that, and then took 2nd place in the First Dakota Classic with that Lift X33.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
then went into the went into Coleman, went to the Classic with the same bow, and shot out in the course. Really struggled. Just struggled seeing, because I tried something different on my sight picture. It didn't work, and it just didn't work. And I was using XT Hunter arrows at the same time. So I really felt that they were accurate enough. I just wasn't seeing my pin like I needed to, which I have fixed now, which is fixed. But when I got out into the field, I was just hitting everything. So I took 2nd place there. And then, coming into this year, the 4 straight, pressure point shoot downs, I really, I'm pleased. I'm like proud of that, being that consistent to, make those podiums over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, I think this year, shooting my ARC 34, both indoor shoots and 3D shoots, I've podiumed, I think, 8 out of 10 events.
Wow.
That's
awesome.
And so I really wanted to be a really well-rounded archer. I just didn't want to be a one-trick pony.
Right.
And so that I've won in 3D, I've won indoor, I've won field, I've won outdoor target. It's because the way I look at it is every discipline that you shoot is going to teach you something different about yourself, and is going to teach you something different about your bow and your setup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, if I just concentrated and focused on 3D, that's great. And I know a lot of people do it, but I'm going to focus on indoors. Also, I'm getting a field bow set up because Field National Championship is coming back up.
That's
And
awesome.
so that forces me, you know, to shoot 80 yards. It forces me to do things maybe a little different that I may not have found out about that bow, that just keeping it to 50 yards and under, you know, shooting indoor, shooting a Vegas round, shooting a 5-spot round. You know, you're aiming so tight on those targets that, you know, you really can make those fine adjustments on your stabilizers and your weights and, you know, where it goes, because, you know, again, it's a very different discipline, and it teaches you something different about your bow and about your setup. So,
Yeah, I think we've had a few discussions on here about paper versus 3D, that sort of thing. I know Justin's not a big paper shooter; he finds it boring. But I like shooting. I like shooting all of it. I know we had a gentleman on here from Canada, Chris Priester, and he always says that 3D lies to you. He said that's what he always says, which is why he prefers paper, because sometimes you'll miss a 3D shot and you're like, is it because I was aiming at the wrong thing, or was I, you know what I mean? It's because you can't see the rings, right? So I know for me, like I'm like you, I can't see the rings. I know I'm, in my mid 50s, so sometimes, and even when I'm using my lens, I'm like, I can't. Bruno was telling me once that he can see the rings, and I'm like, I don't know how you see. I can't see anything. So, and I'm like you. I shoot at an area. I kind of know an area that I want to shoot at. I pick that area, and then I launch my arrow and hope for the best. So, which is my same with my target setup. But anyways, I'm joking. I can see the targets, but yeah. So, anyways, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think to be a really rounded archery and to actually be really good at 3D, I think paper is important. And and 3D obviously gives you things that are going to benefit you in paper as well, right? So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been I guess you've been shooting for a while, like but how long have you actually been shooting professionally?
Since right around 2014 or so. I think 2014 was the first time I went out into like the professional arena. 2014. Pretty sure. Went to Lancaster for the first time, and I had only shot local shoots, and actually I think it was right around in 2007 was when I shot my first Vegas 600 or back-to-back 300s with an old Matthews Ovation, 24-13 arrows, field points, blazer vanes, an old Scott. I didn't know what I was doing, but I shot a 600 with like 51, 52 X's. And it was there where you're like, okay, I guess I'm okay at this. I guess I'm okay at this. But it took a few more years because of my occupation to finally go, okay, I want to try a big tournament. I want to go to Lancaster. So I did. And I ended up at Lancaster and, saw all the big time shooters, and almost like, you're starstruck a little bit. You're going, oh my God, there's this person or there's that person. And I'm shooting right next to Levi Morgan, or, I almost hit Chance Boboff on the head with my bow because I was taking it off the rack and almost whacked him on the head. And, but it was one of those things where the getting that feeling of you can compete. I remember the first day I shot, I had an Apex 8, and I was shooting, I think I was still shooting 24-13s, aluminums. And I shot a 599 with 54 X's or so with that bow. And after the first round of shooting, I think I was in second place in pro division. And this is when they mixed pros and amateurs.
Okay.
And I was second or third place or something like that. And Rob Kaufhold walks up to me and he was like, who are you? Because I've never seen you before in my life. And you throw down that score, which now a 653 in the pro class will get you, below mid, that might just squeak you into the door, nowadays. But it was one of those first instances of going, I like this. I enjoy competing here. And, and it just kind of went from there of finding, let's go to the indoor nationals now. Let's try this and let's try that. Now let's go to Vegas and, really feel the nerves start to hit and the adrenaline start to hit because of course it's Vegas. And so, yeah, it just started snowballing from there. So I started when I was about 34, shooting tournaments and things like that. So I didn't start when I was a kid. I just shot a bow when I was a kid. So, but now it's, it's hard to believe, all these years later, looking back on it, going, a lot of those people that I was like, oh man, look who's over there. Look at this manufacturer. Look at that manufacturer. I'm friends with all those people. And, it's been really a real great journey of, of what God can do with, just him blessing you and, and you just keep on trying. So
Totally agree. Totally agree. And was there a moment you felt like you belong amongst the best shooters in the world?
yeah, I think that moment came, in 2017. I believe it was 2017, shooting indoor nationals. I was 47 years old, and I shot a back-to-back 600 with 120 X's, and which got me into the shoot down with 20 some other people. And I shot with Sergio Pani, both days of qualification, and he's left-handed, so he's right in my face.
Oh, jeez.
And but he is one of the greatest, nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. And we kind of made a pact with each other, like, hey, if I'm shooting and you're done, wait for me. If you're shooting and I'm done, I'll wait for you. And we became became fast friends. And we shot the second day. He he finished his 600 with 120 X's. I got mine. And then when we go into the shoot off, we're standing there because of our last names. We're standing there together facing each other, shooting in the shoot off. So we followed each other
Wow.
the whole way through. And, shooting that 120X at indoor nationals, standing on that line, being with the best shooters in the world, that was that moment where you're going, okay, and then the reaction of other people, like, hey, congratulations, you did a great job. Not that you're looking for that pat on the back, but you start to realize that, okay, maybe I have something here. Maybe there's something going on here that other people are seeing that I don't see. When I started shooting the ASAs, I came in to a senior known 50, which was the only was the only division that we had. We didn't have a senior known pro. We had a senior known 50. And I walked in and, did decent the first few tries. And then I finally won one. And then I won another one and another one. I actually won 6 of those. And I started seeing, as I'm walking through the ASA grounds, I'm started to get people say to me, hey, Randy, how are you doing? And I looked at them going like, I have no idea who you are. Like, I don't know who you are. And I felt horrible because I really want to know that person. I think I should know that person. But it came like, oh my gosh, or I'm walking out and I see, I look up and I see people looking at me, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. But I realized, okay, people are watching you. They know who you are. So this brings on this added, not just pressure, but this added responsibility of, okay, if things don't go well, don't flip out. Watch your mouth, watch your language, watch how you talk about people, watch your attitude, if you had a bad day, you had a bad day on the course and a kid comes up to you, pretend you had the greatest day on the course. Because you have to, be a professional out there, and
Yeah.
you have to act like that, and you have to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just been it's been one crazy journey for me, and nothing that I dreamed of it, but I've never expected it. And, so it's been a lot of fun, and, but it really does feel good to now, when I show up to an event, and you have to have this mentality of, hey, I'm here. And,
Yeah.
that means that you guys better bring your A game because I'm here. And it's not a cocky thing. It's not an arrogant thing, but you have to have that change in your mentality.
Yeah.
I used to go into the shoots and be like, oh, I'm the worst person here. Or, oh, look at that equipment that guy has. Oh my God, this quiver matches his hat and, his shoes. And oh my God, look at the great, well, I don't, the stuff I had was used. I bought used stuff. I bought crap that nobody else wanted. As a matter of fact, that first 600 I shot, I had two 15-inch stabilizers screwed together.
Oh, jeez.
They were
Never
screwed
worked.
together, because it's what you had.
Yeah, that's what
That's what you had. And, and it's like now I've got, I've got multiples of almost everything. I I could go on for hours, but again, it takes you back to, remember looking at those people going, oh man, they've got it all together. And, and now your attitude has to change, that, you walk in the door and, they're going, oh man, Randy's here, darn it.
Yeah.
And, and again, without being arrogant, but that's the way you
course.
have to think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I guess you're a competitor, right? So you have to kind of think that way. And you gotta stay. I know my wife and I kind of run a 3D team here in Guelph, Ontario, and we just did like a sports psychology kind of class.
Mhm.
They talked a lot of things you just talking about. They were talking about exactly that, right? Having that, it's almost like you're almost taking on a persona when you get out onto the field, like,
Mhm.
not obviously not cocky or whatever. Well, some people will take that persona on, but I think it's kind of important to have a bit of a swagger, right? When you get out there. So, and
It's really important. And, another thing that I've noticed something about myself is that, and I'm not like this in real life, in my day to day, but I'm like this in archery, is that I've got a chip on my shoulder.
Mm.
And any little thing can be like poster board material for me. I've had several people come, I'm coming after you. I'm coming for you, Randy. I'm coming for you. Whether they were kidding or not, um, I remember the exact place they said that to me. I, I was looking on Facebook the other day, and I saw somebody posted something about, hey, who you went to win London or Metropolis or whatever it is, and they pick not me. They pick somebody else, and I took that personally. I took it. I honestly took it personally. Like, jerk. Like, why didn't you pick me?
Well, and
And
then you proved them wrong, right? So
Yeah.
and truly, it's one of those things where it motivates me.
yeah,
Not that person could have his opinion. It doesn't
I
matter.
know.
That person could say they're coming after me. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But it puts me into this thing of, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. and,
You're,
and and it motivates me a little bit. So
yeah,
I tell people, I say, hey, man, if you don't want to, awaken the bear, I said, leave me alone. but, but as soon as you want to start trash talking, then here we go. Okay,
yeah,
game on.
definitely.
And so, and that's just something that I don't know. I mean, there's it's not like Michael Jordan level where Michael Jordan would take almost anything and make it a slight. But, but you've got to find motivation. Because if you don't find motivation, you'll go out there and just shoot arrows. You'll
Mhm.
go out there and just,
Right.
I'm just competing. But you've got to find that motivation without it getting into your head,
Mhm.
because I tell you, that was something that when I, first started shooting, it was very easy to allow, oh man, I'm shooting against so on and so forth. I'm cooked. That person is here. I'm cooked. But then you realize that you've got to think differently. You've got to shoot your shots. One year in Lancaster, I think it was 2018, 2019. It was 2018 because I missed 2019. Shooting, I qualified. It was an open pro. I won my first one, won my second one. Third one, I go up against Mike Schlosser. And
Boy.
I'm thinking, the heck? What the? You got to be kidding me. Okay. You've got to be kidding me. Mike Schlosser, you got to, and so we start off and he's just piping them. I mean, they're not even touching they're dead center X's. And I think I shoot a couple tens or whatever. And then the third end comes around, he's shooting and he blasts off a 9 and it went almost into the red. And I shot 3 X's. And so I'm
wow.
thinking, okay, all right. I don't know where we're at, but I gained some ground on him. And the fourth end, he did it again. He shot a big fat 9 and I shot 3 X's and I actually beat him.
Wow.
And I'm
Nice.
sitting there like, I shoot my last arrow, it's an X. I'm looking around kind of going, don't know if I tied him or I don't know if I beat him. I know we're close. I
Right.
know we're really close, and we go down and I beat him by 1 point.
Wow.
And, it's those types of things that, you go, man, it's never impossible. It's never impossible to beat somebody. It's never impossible to show up and do well. It's never impossible. You just can't beat yourself. You just can't sit there and go, oh, I'm shooting against Mikey. Ah, heck with it. I'm just going to fling arrows.
Right.
Even if you're getting your butt handed to you, still shoot those X's. I watched a guy, at a 3D shoot. He had a bad first day. The second day he came out and he was shooting everything in the head. He shot every animal in the head. Now we're over here shooting for money. we're shooting for first place and you're aiming and you hear quack. And you look over and he's shooting these things in its head. And you're thinking, like, why are you doing that? Like, go home.
Mhm.
Like, go home. You're
Yeah.
not learning anything. You've given up.
Right.
Go home. I'd rather go home than to give up on, and it's just stuff like that. That's like, I guess I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Every shot you can learn something from.
Mhm.
No matter what position you're in, no matter where you're at, we're frustrated, happy, sad, tired, you can learn something from that shot and the execution. So yeah, it's just, keep that positive mental attitude going no matter what happens and no matter who you're going up against, keep that positive. You're human.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to kill you. Nobody's going to hurt you. We're just shooting arrows. We're not saving lives. We're just shooting arrows. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. It's, well, a lot of the game is against yourself, right? Like
Mhm.
Yep.
you shoot your best arrows and the other guy shoots his best arrows. If your best arrows beat his best arrows, that's you winning, right? So,
Yep. Mhm.
Interesting. So, do you have any, like, if you go back to the beginning or if you go back through your career, like I still get coached once in a while. Have you had any help along the way from anyone that stands out to you?
Oh, when I first got started, there was a guy named Cloyd Brown, a local shooter, local coach, saw a little bit of talent in me and, helped me kind of hone some skills. The next guy was George Riles, the guy you just had on the podcast.
Mhm.
Back in 2002 when archery talk started. It's called Archery Learning Center back then. Anything that I could find from George's that he would write about executing a hinge release, I would read. I would read it. I would, go home and try it, shoot it 10 yards in the basement, shoot it 5 yards in the basement, trying to execute a perfect hinge shot. And so I would read anything that he would have to say. And then I would go and work on it and try to execute it and perform it well. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I went up to George and I said, "Hey man," I said, years ago, I said, I would read everything that you would put out and I would, learn, from you and shot execution and stabilizers, stuff like that. And he looked at me, he goes, "So I did this to myself." George, yeah, we've become good friends, but it was true. I just had a hunger to find out what other people were doing. And, the area where I grew up in, there was a lot of really good shooters. And so it was a constant thing to push yourself or to ask questions and what are you doing? How are you doing this? And then going home and trying it. I'm always down to try something. I'm always down to, try something new. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try this release. I'm going to try this arrow setup. I'm going to try this stabilizer setup. I'm always down to do it, but I also understand that there's a honeymoon period to it too.
Yeah.
I just put V-bars on my bow earlier this year,
Okay.
and I said, "Oh my goodness!" I said, "Where have you been all my life?" Oh man, the first 10 shots were like, bam! I came out the next day, I picked that bow up, and I took one shot and I took them off. I was like, "Nope, it ain't gonna work." but I tried it, I tried it. But one thing I understand is that, you could look up and down the line and everybody's got something different going. I shoot 15 ounces on a 30-inch bar up front, 19 and a half ounces on a 15-inch bar in the back. A lot of people are like, "Man, that is so heavy." Plus an 8-ounce weight on my bow.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I
That's heavy.
use the title brass weight. I put it on the back of my bow. So it's,
Oh, wow.
but to me, it feels balanced and feels light and it feels good. But to another person, it's way too much weight. To another person, it's not enough.
Right.
And so, you have to find what's going to work for you. But, one of the things my wife would tell me is that, you've got to know the rules in order to break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see this all the time because I coach kids, and I see a lot of amateur shooters as they come out and they've got their bow set up and you go, "Okay, why did you do that? Why did you set your bow up that way?" And I saw somebody online who had their bow set up. Well, I saw this person had their bow set up that way. I saw that person had their bow set up that way. So, okay, but you're not them. And you don't know why they have it set up that way. Just because they won with their back bars, cattywampus, and just because but you have no idea what they went through and what they were seeing when they set that bow up so it's just a matter of look around the room. Okay, I'm going to start here and I'm going to work my way up until now it's too heavy or now it's too light or now this is not working for me. Well, what I tell a lot of people, and I don't hear this a lot from hardly anybody, but a lot of people talk about how a bow aims. It's like, "Oh man, that bow aims so well. That bow aims so good, man. It's so rock solid when it aims." I don't worry about that too much. I'm not super concerned. The bow that I made, I shot that 120X in indoor nationals with was a Matthews Conquest 4, which was a single cam, 41-inch single cam. That bow aimed like crap. I mean, that pin went. This is what that pin did. I shot 120Xs with it because that bow at the moment that bow fired, it would center itself back up. It would center back up to the dot. And I'm not so much. Now, I want my bow to sit still, of course. Of course I want that bow to sit still. But I'm more worried about what that bow is doing at the shot than I'm worried about what that pin's doing as far as it's floating.
Yeah.
I've had bows that have aimed tremendously well. Boy, they aimed like a rock, and they sat there. But the moment I executed the shot, that pin wanted to pop up out of the dot or out of the way. And there was almost nothing I could do to get that. It would aim. And as soon as the shot broke, I would watch that pin do one of these numbers.
No.
And one of the reasons why I shoot that arc so well, and people, well, why are you shooting a hunting bow? Why are you shooting a 34 inch axle hunting bow? Because when the shot breaks, even sometimes on a bad shot, that pin will recenter back to the dot all by itself. Not all by itself now, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so I work really, really hard to set my bow up, whether I push the back bar up, whether I add a half an ounce, whether I had a half an ounce on the front, how far my sight goes in and out, how far the bar goes to the left, not just to have it aim well, but also that when that shot is executed, that I want that bow to center right back up into the pin, even if it's not there. And so that's part of the process that I go through. And it's something that I can't tell you how to get that. You have to work on that yourself. You have to figure out what's going to work for your bow. It might be light, it might be heavy, but it's something that you've got to work on. You've got to be willing to try, but not just go, well, Joe Blow is, has X amount of this and X amount of that. And
Hey folks, the Letdown Podcast has teamed up with Stray Sons Co., a Southern Ontario-born hunting apparel brand bringing high-quality gear to our fellow Canadian hunters. New tees, hats, and hoodies released every month. Use code LETDOWN15 to save 15% at checkout. That's LETDOWN15, all caps, to save 15% at checkout.
if it works for him, it's going to work for me. And I see that all the time. And you can use that as a guide, but you can't don't die on that hill.
Fair. Very fair. So I know talking to Bruno, he was saying, the one thing everyone says on the ASA tour about Randy Morocco, he's one of the most, it's consistency. That's the word that comes to mind to everybody when they talk about Randy. So, how do you feel about being known as the most consistent shooter in the ASA?
I'd rather be known as the winningest one. No, like I said before, I never wanted to be a one-trick pony. Again, I'm 56. I don't need glasses. I just need cheaters up close. Hence the conversation that me and PJ had. And I said, dude, am I not that interesting? The only interesting thing about me is I have to wear cheaters to see my freaking sight tape. Like, I'd rather look like an idiot and, than to misset my sight. Come on, man. Rather have big goggles on than to misset my sight. But again, I've got good eyesight. I'm healthy, I'm strong. God has blessed me with this ability to be able to shoot a bow. I know people who work way harder than I do. And they work harder than me. And, it's a huge blessing, and you've got to love it. And I do. I love competing. I love archery. And it's such a tough question because, again, I would, if there was a thing, well, it's because all my hard work and it's because all my dedication, because I'm so smart and I'm so talented and I'm so this, and that's just not true. It's just not true. You just have to go to, God has blessed me, and I can't take credit for it, but you've got to love it, and if you don't love it, if you don't love the feeling of the competition, and I think that's one of the things that, because I've been on the stage so often, in front of the cameras, in front of the lights, in front of the people watching, it's desensitized me a little bit to it, where it's, where you get out there and it went from, oh my God, look how big this is, to I'm supposed to be here.
Mm.
All right, where's the camera? Cool. Honestly, I don't even see the camera anymore. The crowd, well, they're over there. I hear something over there. I guess they're over there somewhere, but I'm just totally focused on that next target. And again, thank God Bruno's there, because he listens to what everything's going on, because I don't even pay attention. I'm really not paying attention.
That's what good umbrella man does, Randy. Tell you.
Yeah. And, if he makes the shoot off the next time,
Yeah.
I don't. It's like, I'm gonna sabotage him or something like that. No, you can't. You can't.
So you mentioned God a few times, and blessing it, and is that a big part of your life? Is religion and part of it, and how does it kind of relate to archery for you?
When I grew up in church, I actually pastored for 20 years.
Well, that's cool.
Long story made bearable. Long story, but yeah, pastored for 20 years. And one of the things that, goes back and forth between, Christianity and your faith and archery and life is truly faith. To have faith in God, having faith in what you're doing, not doubting, not being in that doubt. The Bible says, faith is the substance of things, faith is substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. In having that positive mental attribute of going, I haven't had my first win yet, but I know it's going to be coming, and I have faith in that. And also, what faith does is puts things in perspective. You realize that, we're just shooting bows, what, but what shooting bows has done is it's opened up doors for me to, talk to somebody who's been going through a really, really hard time. There's been several occasions where, I've approached people because I heard somebody told me, well, this person's going through whether it's a divorce or something, physical ailment or something like that. And I've walked up to them. Hey, how are you doing? I'm doing all right. No. How are you doing? Well, this, that, and the other. And, you make a connection to people when you really care. And John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so it's opened up the doors to, and again, another friend of mine, somebody I mentioned, he was going through a divorce, and I remember walking up to him and going, hey, how are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm doing good. And I didn't, how are you really doing?
Yeah.
But to be able to sit there and talk to him on a level that, I've been through a divorce, that I understood, and we could commiserate, but also go, hey man, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up, don't do stupid things. Trust God, and he'll bring you through this, even though you can't see it now. And it's just sometimes, when I was going through my divorce, I didn't need anybody to feel bad for me. I didn't need pity. I didn't need, oh, I'm so bad for you. Boo hoo, boo hoo. Hey, listen, it's life.
Mhm.
What you do need is somebody who's in your corner. You do need somebody that says, hey man, I'm on your side. And not that, it's me versus, but someone who says, I don't care what happened. I don't care who's right. I don't care who's wrong. I've got your back.
Yeah.
And, that does something for you. And I think that, experiencing those things as far as, church goes and stuff like that, that truly, when I'm at a shoot, when I'm at a tournament, that yeah, I'm competing. Yeah, I want to take your money. Yeah, I want to win. But if at the end of the day, we could sit down and have a conversation and I could help you through something that you're going through, there's the win. There's the win. There's that God moment where he brings something together that you weren't expecting, you weren't even looking for, but he used a terrible situation in your life to give encouragement to somebody who's going through it. And you've been there, you've been out in those waters and you're going, I can't feel the bottom and I can't see the shore and there's no life,
Yeah,
there's no lifeboat here.
definitely.
and, and, and then all of a sudden, you when you think you're finally going to go down and drown, here comes the lifeboat and God's like, I got you, don't worry, I got you. And boy, I really wish you would have showed up earlier. That would have saved me a lot of heartache. That would have saved me a lot of pain. But at the same time, you're thankful for the pain. You're thankful for the struggle,
Yeah.
and it did something in you, and it made you stronger. It made you more resilient, so that when you do go out on the archery course, and I shot a 5 or I shot an 8. That's the worst thing to happen to me today. I mean, come on, that's the worst thing.
Totally
Oh,
agree.
like I said,
Yeah, yeah.
shoot an 8. Oh boy, guess what? Well, I got 4 more targets to go, and here we go.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
I've been through worse, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and having that faith too is yeah, it's something I don't know. I guess it is kind of lacking today. So it's kind of refreshing to hear that. So yeah, I just wanted to say that it was I just wanted to make mention of it because you mentioned it a couple of times. So and like if sorry, sometimes I go on this show, but like I know so my wife, myself, Justin, and a few other folks, we run the archery club here in Guelph. The reason why I didn't start the club. I took over the club, and I wanted to create a community like we had it, like I have in church, right? And because not a lot of people are going to church, and they don't have someone to talk to, or they don't have, a lot of people they've just moved to Guelph, so they don't have any friends, and
Mhm.
like after starting this club, I made a 3D league, and 3D league, a whole bunch of young guys, they all got together, they all became friends. They didn't know each other before, and yeah, I think just it's just an important message, like to create community, and so I remember talking to an
Mhm.
old gentleman. He says, "You're either creating communities or you're destroying them." So
Mhm.
I want to be on the side of creating them. So
Right.
yeah, so
Uh,
after all that, we can maybe lighten up a bit and just have a bit of a little fun conversation. Like at some point, something possessed you to drive all the way to Ontario and spend some time with us crazy Canucks here. So, what was your first impression when you came up to the Rogues Hollow shoot?
Well, I'm I I didn't know what to expect, I guess. Again, a different terrain, understanding that, when last year when London was canceled because of the tornado, we went up for the weekend to Bruno and Carrie's
Okay.
and had a bunch of fun, met a bunch of people, had a lot of fun, shot our bows and stuff like that. And interestingly enough, it's my son works in Sandusky, Ohio, and basically, if you took a boat and you drove, due north, you would run right into Bruno and Carrie's house
Oh
from
wow.
from Sandusky. And me and the wife, we both kind of noted that even though literally it's that far apart, just a different culture, different words for different things,
Mhm.
almost to say it
Oh
was
yeah.
different. It was different than what we, just the culture was a bit different. But what happened quickly was the connections and the friendships that we made, that we that are going to be lifelong. And so we enjoyed that so much that when we were invited to go up to Rogues Hollow, we were like, yeah, no, it was just instantaneous. Let's do it. And so drove up, we haven't been through Toronto in a while, and, drove up through Toronto and just how massive, that city is, and just enjoyed seeing all the sights, got into, got into the hotel room, got up to the shoot, and literally, it was just like we were with a bunch of archers,
Yeah.
and friends. And so it wasn't anything different than what I experienced. Again, the terrain was a little bit different, but it wasn't anything that I've never seen before. But everybody was kind, everybody was nice. The first day was really nice. Second day it snowed,
I was
which
gonna say, yeah.
which was crappy. But then again, on the way home, it snowed in Pennsylvania, just as we were about to go into Ohio too. So it snowed down here too. The one thing that I was surprised about was how cold everybody was. I'm thinking, oh, you Canadians, man, you guys should be used to this crap. And everybody's like, man, I'm freezing. So you guys should know, you guys should know better than this.
You think we would, but yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the event. I know I talked to a few folks, and they were saying, yeah, Sunday was cold. I think a lot of the guys that camped there as well. So like overnight, waking up in the morning to that, my goodness gracious, coming out of your tent, it's starting to snow. That's
Oh yeah.
probably, yeah, that would make it cold.
No,
So
but
I'll-
it was a really nice event. I mean, nice courses, nice
Awesome.
event.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
And the same thing. It's like on the second day, we shot the one course and I didn't bring mud boots with me. I didn't think I would need them. And there was a guy, his name was, oh gosh, Michael, I believe, was an older guy. He's an older guy. Really good shooter. I shot with him at a team shoot, and I said, "Oh man, I didn't bring him," and he lent me his
oh wow,
his knee boots,
that's awesome.
and
Nice.
so I threw those on, and thank God, because it was a swamp. Thank God.
And yeah, it's that, like I think the archery community is one of those. It's I don't know. I've been to events in different places, and it's always welcoming no matter what, right? And I'm kind of a shy person to begin with, so but as soon as I get up with three other guys and we start shooting the course, it's like, you start talking, you start getting to know those guys, and it's you end up leaving with at least one friend.
Mhm.
It's such an amazing community that way. So,
Right. Yeah, and it was the same up there. It was very well run. Again, it was a lot of fun. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I'll be coming up to the Southern Canadian Classic here in, I think it's August or so, and
Yes.
so that's going to be a lot of fun too. I'm going to really enjoy that.
yeah, well, we'll invite you out to the Royal City Tent City. So
Yeah.
our club has its own little gathering there of tents, and yeah, you can come on back and enjoy a few beverages with us, and yeah,
Yeah, that'll
it'll be
work.
fun to have you. Yeah, it'll be awesome. So I guess we'll try to get to the end here. So I thank you first of all for spending more than an hour with us. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But let's just pretend there's a guy that listening right now. He shoots local club shoots. He practices, loves the sport, but he can't seem to get over that hump. What would Randy Morocco tell him?
I'm just working with a guy right now, the same way. He reached out to me over Facebook, local guy, and I agreed to meet with him. The first thing that I noticed was that his draw length was way too short. And took a look at it. I actually increased his draw length by 3/4 of an inch, and worked on some other fundamentals with him, grip position, getting that right draw length, making sure that, I think a lot of people want that one specific thing that they can do that's going to make them a better shooter. And that's what keeps the archery business in, in good money. Cause there's oh man, this new release, man, it is going to, this little thing over here, you attach to your bow, and man, it's going to, turn you into a world beater. And it's basic. It's not necessarily true. But what is true is if your grip on your bow isn't right, you're going to have problems.
Mhm.
If your draw length's not right, you're going to have problems. Everything else is variable. But if you don't have your grip position right, you don't have your draw length right, you're going to have issues. And it's stuff that I see on a daily basis, especially with kids. I see a lot of kids, they'll come in and, they got their bow gripped and they're white knuckling it straight up and down.
Mhm.
And, but what I teach them is, you need that 45-degree angle. You need to put your hand in there. And there's other things that obviously that I can do. But making sure that you're putting that bow right in here, your hand is soft around the grip, and you can repeat that. I'm OCD on my draw length. I'm OCD. I've got an arrow downstairs. It's marked. That mark has to intersect the burger buttonhole or the rest buttonhole.
Mhm.
If it goes anywhere this way or that way, I change it so it goes right in the middle. I'm OCD on my D loop length. I cut them to the same length every single time. I measure them. If I cut one and it doesn't measure to where it needs to be, it gets thrown into the hunting bin. Don't use it. Don't use it. Yeah. And I hear so many people say, well, what's your draw length? Well, I just do it till it feels good. Well, how do you repeat that? How do you repeat it feels good?
That's fair.
Yeah. Can't.
Well, it feels good. This feels good. That feels good. Everything feels good.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your bow set to a draw length that you can repeat, that I've got 3 ARC 34s. Very first thing I did to them, I measured, put my D loop on, got my arrow going, put it on the draw board, and we got the draw length right. And I know that again, those strings are going to break in. It's going to move, and I'm going to look at that in another 100 shots. I'm going to look at it again. As a matter of fact, the 3D bow that I'm using, when I got home from London, every shoot that I got home from, I took that bow, put it on the draw board, checked the draw length, and if it was off, I fixed it. And before I go to Metropolis, I'll put it on the draw board. I'll check the draw length to make sure it's right. Because I can feel it. If it's an eighth of an inch short, I can feel it. I'll know something's wrong. My release won't fire as good as it. I'll sit there, man. It just feels like I've got to make sure this release goes off. And I put that eighth of an inch in, release fires like it has a mind of its own. And so for amateurs, a lot of times what they do is they go, I'm just going to do this until it feels good. Or, I'm going to do this because, and you have to, and I ask the kids, especially the kids that really want to shoot good at the shop that I coach at, why are you doing that? I want an explanation. I want you to tell me why you're doing that. And again, going back to, I don't want to hear because I saw it online or I saw somebody on Facebook doing it. Well, you don't know why they're doing it. You don't know what the process went through, why you're doing it. You have to, your D loop length. How short is it? How long is it? Okay. Rob Morgan years ago, he goes, man, you need to lengthen that D loop out a little bit. Okay, Rob, why? Well, because you want that D loop to span from your string to your release. You don't want your fist being way up into your jaw. You want that gap. Oh, okay. So I started doing that. I measured. Now I've got a measurement of how I, and it goes that way all the time. The one year I started shooting a certain thumb button release had a longer neck. Well, what happened is that it caused me to go back too far because with the long D loop, the long neck, now I'm back this far. So I shortened my D loop up to get my same anchor point, my same feel. Yep. Okay. And so everything I did had a purpose to it, had a reason to it. It wasn't just like willy nilly. And that's where, a lot of people, they just do stuff and if I throw enough stuff against the wall, something will stick. and I told somebody, even about arrows. I remember this at London, a kid came up to me, new shooter, new compound shooter. Which arrow should I get? and he immediately went to, should I get like X cutters or 30Xs, triple Xs, and help my score get better? Like, just because it's a bigger arrow doesn't mean it's going to score better.
No, yeah.
And I tell you, go get yourself some 340 spine XT hunters, put 130 grains in the front, put pin knocks on the back, and go shoot them. They're the best. They're one of the most accurate arrows you'll ever find. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 arrows that I use in my house. I've got a lot of arrows, but I've got 2 of them that I use. I use XT hunters for field. I use them for hunting. I used them last year for 3D. I use them for outdoor target. I use them for almost anything. And I've got triple X's. Those are the only 2 arrows I use because I found the combination on my triple X's. I figured them out to where I can shoot 50 and 60 yards with them, and they shoot really, really good. But it took a long time to get that. Those aren't like, hey, I'm just going to shoot triple X's. They're going to make my score better. If your form isn't good, man, they're going to punish you.
Yeah, for sure.
But those XT hunters are a great arrow to start out with. That's going to give you some real good forgiveness, real good accuracy, and it'll make up for some of the mistakes that you make. And so instead of going, the idea, and I see it all the time, well, if I had a bigger arrow, that would have scored a 12. Or if I had a bigger arrow, that would have been an X. And it's like, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because that same mistake you made with a triple X, if you don't have it set up right or you don't have good form, may be out in the red. And so these are the things that people, they just assume, oh, well, they're shooting a triple X. Well, I like to golf. And I know the pros use blade golf clubs. They use blade irons. And, and I realize why they use blade irons, because they can shape a shot. They can take that blade and make it do what they want it to do. Most golfers have no clue. And they go out, well, the pros are using them, so I'm going to use them. They can't hit them. They're going all over the place. Well, because you don't know what they know. You don't practice like they practice.
Exactly.
And so, for amateur hand position, find a draw length. Have somebody take a picture of you at full draw. Have somebody. I had my buddy Dustin Bounce, who owns a shop in Akron, Ohio. I every now and then I go to him and I sit there and aim to tell me what you see. All right, looks good. Okay, you're okay. That's good. That's good. Because I needed to hear from somebody else that I'm not slacking. I needed to hear from somebody else that you're doing good. You're okay. This is doing well. And so draw length, hand position, the next thing I would do is get a good rest, get that whisker biscuit. And I know people, I know people have, monetary issues and budgetary issues, but if you can't afford a good drop away, I shoot a blade. I shoot a Hamsky R7 and I put a 12 blade on it. And that's how I shoot it. It's simple. It's super simple. There's nothing special to it.
Yeah. I always tell the guys at the club, get rid of that whisker biscuit. It's going to wear out and your arrow's going to keep doing this. And eventually you're like, why am I shooting so low? Because your whisker biscuit's worn out. It lasts about a month.
Oh yeah. Your fletchings look like they've been run through the car wash too.
Exactly.
But it's small stuff. It's simple stuff, and it's repeating those things, to the best of your ability. And I've done this. I tell people all the time. I had 5 yards or 7 yards in my basement when I was in my 30s, but I set up a bag down there and shot at 7 yards. And I would do one arrow drills where I would take one arrow, I would shoot that arrow, go down and get it, pull it back out, shoot it again. And I was trying to see how good of you're shooting a pistol, how good of a group I would get. And I would test fletchings against each other. So, okay, I'm going to use blazers, I'm going to use feathers, and I would shoot them against each other just to see what's going to group the best. And surprisingly, there's many times where I wanted something to win. I wanted something to be better, and it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well,
it's like you're saying, you're trying to make it fit, and it's just, hey, the facts
Yeah,
are the facts. So
the facts
yeah,
are the facts, and
yeah.
and in the same way with arrows. I mean, I used to shoot. I shot gold tip for a long time. Went to another manufacturer. Tried their 27, and literally could not get that arrow to shoot well. I tried different point weights. I tried different fletchings. I tried everything. And I would, I would shoot well with it, but I would shoot like when I would shoot the Vegas targets, I'd just catch the X. I'd shoot good X counts, 27, 28 X's. I'd just catch the edges of the X and thinking, but I watch other people just run the center out with the same arrows. It's like, okay, well, you know what? It occurred to me, they're jiving with that arrow. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not jiving with that arrow. It isn't that it's a bad arrow. It's a perfectly fine arrow. It's just that what I'm doing and the way I'm shooting, it ain't working.
Yeah.
And so I had to go, hey guys, I'm out. I'm going to go back to gold tip. So I'm back to gold tip, and all of a sudden arrows go straight in the middle. And it's not because gold tip is a better arrow. It's just it fits me better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's, and I know once again, that's something for everybody to look at, going, don't get stuck on just one arrow. Well, man, this XYZ brand arrow is the best arrow, and there's no doubt about it. Well, it might be the best for you, or it might be the best for that guy, but is that the best arrow for you?
Right.
In the way you shoot in your setup? It might not be. And so, like I said, I kind of, it bums me out that sometimes we have to sign contracts because not everybody makes a whole line of arrows that are the best.
Yeah.
You might get a fat arrow that's the best arrow for me, but that mid-range arrow, boy, that other manufacturer makes a really good one. Or that skinny. I've shot bunches of skinny arrows. I've tried 166s and 204s, and I can't get them to group as good as my XT100s, which are 246s. Just can't.
It's crazy.
So I, give them away or sell them to somebody. my nephews, they shoot 204s, and I say, hey, you need some more arrows? Like, yeah, I got a bunch of them here for you. Come get them. I don't want them anymore. And so it's just, and again, you have to get to a point where, like what you said, the results are the results. Don't try to force results just because you want, like, I wanted my Pierce tours. I wanted them to work so very bad for field this year or last year. I wanted them to work, but they didn't group as well as my XT100s. So guess what? I took XT100s.
Totally makes sense.
A hunting bow with a hunting arrow, and it'll work.
Wow. Amazing. Very amazing. Yeah. It's, even like, I know as as professional shoes, you're sponsored by different bow manufacturers or whatever. And even to the fact there are some bows some bow brands I can't shoot, or specific bows in that lineup I just can't shoot. I won't mention them on the show, but there was one bow I really struggled with. I bought it thinking this is going to be great. I read all about it. It's people are winning championships with this thing all over the place, and it was like it was a flagship bow, but it was like a mid-range flagship.
Okay.
But so I was saving the money, and I thought, okay, I'm saving some money, but this bow was going to shoot great, and it did not for me. Shot great for other people, shoots great for a bunch of the pros out there, but never for me. I could not shoot that thing for life. So
right.
Yeah,
I've had that. Yeah, I've had that. I've never really, my rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months. And when I get a new bow, it's going to take 3 to 6 months for me to figure it out. And so I'm going to be patient with that bow until, when that 3 to 6 months passes, if I still don't have it figured out, it's gone. It's gone. I'm not going to waste any more time with it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, when I picked up the Lift 33X, I've already shot the Phase 4 really well. And now the Arc 34, it was pretty much almost plug and play. But still, it took a few months for me to actually, because I started indoors with the Arc 34. It took probably a few weeks before I settled on a pea pith. Kept on moving the peep up and down.
Yeah.
Up, down, up, down. Okay, there it is. Okay, and that's something else that I'm kind of OCD on is my peep. Once I get it set, you tie it in, I paint it. I take some silver, like some silver Sharpie stuff, and I paint it in just to make sure that I know it won't move. Yeah, I'm crazy about that.
I was just about to ask you about OCD. So
But that's what makes them consistent on everything.
Exactly. That's
because the
why.
bow shoots the same every time. We're the only thing that's only inconsistent.
Yeah, we're the variants in the bow.
Yeah, we are the variants.
So if you're that OCD about your bow, then as long as you're doing your part, your bow's going to do this.
Yeah. And another thing I just thought of is and I see this again among the kids I teach, amateurs and things like that, is like, don't waste shots. Don't let down. If it's not there, if you're out in the backyard and you're practicing and a wind gust, if I'm out back and I'm practicing and I get a wind gust, it blows the bow, and I get back on target and it's one of these things, I just let down. I'm not going to launch that arrow. I don't have time to waste shots, because a wasted shot teaches you absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Because if it hits in the middle, you're like, well, that was lucky. If you miss the bag, you're like, I should have let down because now I lost an arrow.
Yeah.
But that discipline of letting down when the shot's not right. Like if I'm out on the 3D course and the shot's not right, that bow goes down. Right. I get 2 more tries at this. And even I've pulled back. Okay, shot's not right. I'm going to let back down. Now it's got to go because it's the third it's the third try. But sometimes what happens is I'll draw back just to see. All right. Okay. Let back down, glass it again. All right. Now I think I know where I'm going to aim. So it's almost like this practice attempt. But I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I really don't know where it's at, so I'm just going to punch it off and just going to shoot it. So, and don't waste shots. Every shot has to count, whether you're practicing, no matter what. You're in your basement, you're in your backyard, you're at a major tournament, you're at Vegas. Every shot counts. Don't waste shots. That'll get you into this mentality that even when I'm paper tuning, I don't waste shots. Paper tuning, pull back, thumb on the trigger, squeeze, bam, squeeze through that shot and make it good. Don't waste shots.
Yeah.
Shooting over the chronograph, I don't waste shots. It has to be a perfect shot. I just don't get up there.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not making your shot too, it could change the effects, especially on paper. Like I know I was working with a guy once. He had a bow tech with the one with the cam lock or whatever, the deadlock system. Right. And he was getting a tear like this on paper. So I took it, shot it, and I shot a bullet hole. He's like, how the hell did you do that? And I said, I don't know. It says, maybe I'm not torquing the bow like you're torquing the bows. And I grabbed it again, another bullet hole. And sure enough, so I looked at his hand grip and I could see he was white knuckle every time. Just before he'd shoot, his knuckles would get white. And I'm like, you're gripping the bow way too tight. And he changed that, and sure enough, next shot, boom, bullet hole.
Yep.
So I said, you could have used the deadlock, and then you would have had the couple of shots you take where your hand is normal, you would have been having a bad arrow. So,
right.
Yeah, it's this game is just so many variables, man, and they all come down to the human being who's behind the bow. So, well, Randy, and just in closing here, it's I know you've won a lot, you've accomplished a lot. Every weekend, you're still loading up the truck and heading out to another tournament. So, what keeps bringing you back to archery?
I'm a competitive person. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the competition. I enjoy the rush that it gives you to compete, that arrow actually means something. It's it's just I love the game, and also and I said this on another podcast where it's like, I've got 3 boys, they're all adults now, and and it makes me feel good that my grandkids will, hey, your grandpa was pretty darn good with in archery, and has, because my trophies, again, when I die, my kids will probably use them for rock gardens, or yeah, yeah, melt them down for 3D printing projects, and you know but it drives, I guess, it motivates me to sort of leave a mark. It motivates me to leave a mark in my kids' lives, motivates me to leave a mark in other people's lives, that there's this sense of accomplishment that um you know I've accomplished some things in my life, and that I could look back upon and go, that was, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I went for it. And so yeah, it's the money part of archery. Again, you're not going to get rich on archery. There's no doubt about it. Does help, is fun, is nice to cash a nice check. But really, it's more the competition. It's funny because people, how much does this competition pay? "Oh, I don't know. Like, how do you not know? I don't know. I don't know. I just want to go shoot my bow. I want to focus on shooting my bow, and I focus on winning. And then when they hand me the check, I guess I'll figure it out. Then I'll go, oh, that's pretty nice.
That's awesome. So the final question is, so if we sit down again a year from now, what would make you say the 2026 season was a success?
I look at it, success is so broad. Showing up is success. Getting back up is success.
Mhm.
You know, uh, being in the mix, being a competitor is success. And honestly, it's my cat is, stop that, get down, goofy, dumb cat. Uh, you know, uh, being a friend, meeting people and enjoying this archery life, and sitting around that campfire and having a beer, and watching people playing cornhole, and you talking and meeting new friends, and it goes beyond just, man, I was success because I made podium in every shoot. It's, no, this was successful because look at the friends we've made, look at the
Mhm.
connections we've made, look at the people that we've helped, look at this our sphere of influence that's growing and growing and growing. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for archery. It's not about the stuff. It's about, like, and again, the connections you make. And so winning, and again, winning's good. Winning is good, but you could be winning and all alone.
Mhm.
And but to make these kind of connections, and to have true friends, and a true umbrella man. Thanks, Bruno. you know and like I said, when we go to Canada, my wife and Bruno's wife, they, and Lisa, Peter and Lisa Ray, they all get together. They all go shopping, and they have a blast together. And it's like, thank God, that we met people that everybody likes each other. And
Yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
that's not always the case.
No, that's hard. That's very hard. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Randy, it was great sitting down with you. Like, that was just, I don't know about you, Justin. I thought it was an amazing conversation.
That was. I just
Yeah.
want to add one more thing to that conversation.
Oh, of
So
course,
yeah, I know. So you said you were a pastor.
Mhm.
Technically, you still are, and your flock is
Oh.
not in a brick and mortar building. It
Mhm.
is literally your archery community that you surround yourself with.
Right.
So
Right.
that is, so you were moved from a brick and mortar building
Hmm?
to something greater, and you're not just helping Christians anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? You're helping
Yeah.
your archery community.
Yeah.
So I was thinking
That's
about
good.
I was
That's
thinking
That,
about
beautiful.
that for a while.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And you know, like I said, when I mentioned about that, you know, I used to be a pastor. It was in the context of yeah, I spent years in
Yep.
that brick and mortar building.
Yep.
And you know, and again, that is, it's sometimes I have to be reminded of that, because um it's real easy to you know, when I get to a shoot, you know, the switch goes on,
Yep.
and you go into, okay, I'm competing now. And you know, and you get tunnel vision real quick, like, I'm
Mhm.
competing, you know, leave me alone. But realizing that there's plenty of opportunities, and you know, God produces plenty of opportunities that,
Definitely.
you know, I have conversations with people that are just, wow, that was amazing. But
Mhm.
thank you for that. I appreciate that.
That's what that reminded me of. That was like,
Mhm.
holy crap, that's where you were put there on purpose
Mhm.
to help people in the archery community, because we struggle all the time.
Yeah, we're just people. We're just
Yeah,
humans.
that's right. And most of those people probably aren't going to go to a brick and mortar building. They'll probably never get that opportunity. And then you show up, right? And then it's
Yeah.
like, right? So
Right. Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
you've brought up brilliance in this man, Randy. Good job.
I can add
Usually
things every
Justin's
once in a while.
usually Justin's really quiet. That's good. That was awesome.
No, I can.
Anyways,
That's excellent. Excellent.
well, thank you for joining us on the
Yes.
Letdown, Randy.
I'm Justin Harrison. You can find me on Instagram at Justy_785, or on Facebook. Just look up Justin Harrison.
I'm Misha Corso. You can find me on Instagram at Misha Corso. And if you're looking for some great bow hunting and sport shooting merch, look up Stray Sons Archery on Instagram.
I'm Crystal Fleur. If you want to find us, the show is Letdown Podcast on Spotify and YouTube. And on Instagram and Facebook, you can find us at the Letdown Podcast. Catch you next time. This was The Letdown. Thank you for listening. This was The Letdown.